Hi everyone, and welcome into the Writers Roundtable. I'm Taylor Stern with Brian Broaddus, Rob Phillips, and Nick Eatman. We are so close to the draft. The draft guide is out. You guys can get it now. Pro shop on DallasCowboys.com. But Brian, I'll start with you first. What position could come in here on this team now they got the D-Law deal done and actually play 40% of the snaps next season?
40% of the snaps. I think that if you look at where this team's at, it would probably be at a defensive tackle spot. And I think that Tristan Hill from Central Florida would make a lot of sense. I think this team is hunting defensive tackles. I think they're hunting guys that could play three technique. I think they're worried about, with Collins, Malik Collins, the injury, the contract, all these things are kind of looming in the distance. They're going to need some guys to kind of fill in that position. I think they feel good about the one. I think they feel good about the end. The rotating system in the middle, though, is always something that they look at.
That's interesting. I was feeling comfortable on the line, but I like what you're saying.
Yeah, you know, Brian's right. Tackle's an interesting spot because you could still draft a guy who could compete with Kerry Hyder, with Christian Covington, right, and earn more snaps. Those guys aren't guaranteed to play a lot next season. If there's another spot, maybe safety, if you draft a safety high in the draft and that guy can come in and compete. Again, Cowboys have done a nice job of covering their needs in free agency. George Iloka's a veteran who has started games in the league. Jeff Heath has started games in the league. But again, if you draft a guy high and he comes in and proves himself, maybe a safety is a spot that can play a lot.
Nick?
Yeah, it's one of those two. I don't think you can really say there would be another one. You know, definitely I agree with Rob. Safety's a spot. They haven't really taken one that high in a few years, and especially one that played safety. J.J. Wilcox wasn't really a college safety. They were trying to make him one. So I think that you could make a case there. I think Brian's right too. Defensive tackle, tight end is interesting.
I was just gonna say, or Guy Witten.
It's interesting with Witten coming in here, but you know, can a guy get picked and be better than the two that they have, Dalton Schultz and Blake Jarwin? Possibly, if you take one in the second round. So I think they're right there. Safety and defensive tackle, tight end could be sneaky.
What about running back?
Yeah, I was going to say.
See, running back is the one position that if you draft somebody, even though you have Zeke, and we saw what happened to Zeke at the end of the year. I mean, he was just beat up, tore up. But the running back is the one position that if you drafted a guy high enough, that immediately running backs seem to fit. Rookie season, boom, put them in, and they get some production out of it.
That's how we saw Rod
It might not be 40% to our question, but it might be the best position for this team to have somebody that could take those meaningful snaps.
That's the one spot you look at and say, they haven't really filled that one yet. Back up for Zeke. However, I kind of look at Zeke like Witten in his prime. He's gonna be on the field most of the time. He played 90% of the snaps last year. You probably want to reduce that a little bit, but maybe it's 85 next year. You know, it's not like he's coming off the field a ton.
Well, and looking where they did play rookies last year, of course, Connor Williams, he was a second-round guy. Offensive line is always a place where I want to have that solid depth that, knock on wood, nothing happens, but if it does, a guy could step in.
You know, and that being said, cornerback is one. If you see a cornerback that's sitting there at 58, you're looking at value, obviously, at 58. And so you get a guy that has the traits, the skills that you know, Chris Richard and the defensive coaches want there. Well, why can't he play more than Jordan Lewis and maybe Anthony Brown, who's got a contract situation next year? So, you know, I could see cornerback being a guy.
Especially if it's a guy that Chris Richard went and worked out. You know, Joanne Williams from Vanderbilt. If he's sitting there, here's a guy that's a 6'3" guy that ran 4.55. People might not like that. Chris Richard loves that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys. We are so close to the draft. Everything is happening right here at the Star in Frisco. They will have so many parties, and the draft guide and the draft show will have you covered. Thank you so much for watching.